Well, credit rating agencies are supposed to be independent professional bodies that do assessment of companies that issue debt instruments such as bonds and sovereign nations like Ghana that also issue debt instruments so that their assessment will give indication to the creditors, that is those who bought into the issuance of those debt instruments, whether or not they are able to repay their debt if they fall due. So that such information is provided by assessing and evaluating the entities that issue the debt instrument will provide a basis for investment decision by the creditors. So, for example, if the assessment shows that the company or the sovereign nation has the ability to repay its debt when they fall due, an investor may take a decision to allow the investment to go through maturity or to sell those investments and be out of a relationship with the issuance of the bond, etc. So that is basically what the credit rating agencies do. So their main stakeholder is the credit environment, is the investing environment. And even though that is their main focus to provide information on the riskiness and credit worthiness of those who issue debt instruments, they also tend to provide vital information to the entity that issues the debt instrument. So, for example, if you say the rating of Ghana, they have indicated the areas that are causing the risk. They talk about the debt levels, the interest, and then the revenue of the country. They talk about unsecured long-term debt, how they are susceptible to risk of default. So that information will help both the investors to take a decision as to whether they want to hold the investment or to even invest in Ghana at all. Then that information will also help government to see the areas they need to improve in order to be attractive. So that is what I can say briefly about credit rating agencies.
The ratings so far, Fitch, S&P, and Moody's, are they a true reflection of the Ghanaian economy?
The question again, please.
I'm saying that the ratings by Fitch, the ratings by S&P, the ratings by Moody's, are they a true reflection of the Ghanaian economy?
Yes, to a large extent, they are a true reflection of the Ghanaian economy. And this is known by Ghanaian authorities for a very long time. At the end of 2019, when the finance minister was reading the 2020 budget, at paragraph 456 and paragraph 457, when the finance minister was talking about debt management of the country, he talked about unsustainable interest payment, the high debt risk. He talked about that. And that is exactly what the credit rating agencies are expressing. So the authorities know the finances and the fiscal situation of the country, and that has reflected in this rating. So I think there's no serious question about that.
Now, let's try and analyze the sources of information or data that these rating agencies utilize to arrive at a conclusion as to the outlook of a country. Where do they get these information, the data from?
We have what we call publicly available information. And this publicly available information, the World Bank, you will get it from the Finance Ministry, you will get it from Bank of Ghana, you will get it from IMF, and you will get it from all the interested institutions. Then you can also request that data directly from the government of Ghana. In addition to that, normally the credit rating agencies, they work through some agents within the various countries to help in some data collection and validation of information that they have gathered. So that is how they work.
Is there a possibility this data they work with, if they are collecting from the IMF, if they are collecting from the World Bank, could be inaccurate?
If they are getting the data as provided by the government of Ghana to IMF, because that obligation is on government of Ghana to provide data to IMF, then we cannot be talking about faulty data unless the government of Ghana provides the wrong data to IMF.
Okay.
So that is how it is. But you can get a perfect data by using a wrong methodology to process the data. You can get a very good data, factual data, but the way it is analyzed may be wrong. So I'm not sure that the analysis done or the evaluation done by the credit rating agency is such that we are saying the data is hugely deviated from what the situation is. I don't think so. So I'm not sure government is questioning the credit rating agencies about the data. I believe they are questioning the credit rating agencies because of the pain that they are going through as a result of the downgrade. I think you recall they were saying that this rating that Moody did was not unsolicited rating. You have two types of rating, solicited and unsolicited rating. And it seems to me the government of Ghana, with their borrowing plan for the first quarter, wanted a rating opinion from this rating agency. So normally when you pay for something, you thought that it may go in your favor. And I believe it's like this is not what we expected. So the reasons that have been given for rejecting the rating opinion for Moody especially is not grounded in what is supposed to be the case. Now, we need to also accept the fact that rating agencies are not angelic institutions. They are not institutions without blame, but they are still relevant in the eyes of investors. Take, for example, audit firms. Audit firms are supposed to provide assurance as to whether policies, rules, regulations, and indeed the company is managed according to the rules. We have seen big audit firms in the US, in the UK, in India recently, even in Africa, who were actually surcharged or punished because of certain things they were supposed to have done to provide a reflective audit report. That does not make those audit firms less important in the opinion they express. In the same vein, when you go to the history of credit rating, you will see S&P in court. In some cases, they lost the cases that have been filed against them. They provide rating for some companies and some countries, and within a short period of time, the good rating they gave, will turn out to be not a reflection of the truth, and those countries will begin to suffer consequences. So we know that credit rating agencies are not angelic institutions. That is why in Europe they have regulation guiding the work of credit rating agencies. In Africa, we don't have. The regulation in Europe is such that there are independent national bodies that do supervision of the work of credit rating agencies. In fact, they must even register in those countries that they want to operate in those countries, and they fall under the supervision of those regulatory entities. So it is something we can look at and develop in Africa, so that there is a framework within which they work. But where the data speak for itself, that you are borrowing excessively, that your interest cost for 2021 was in excess of 35 billion, and you raised a total revenue in terms of taxes of about 57 billion. Find 35 as a percentage of 57, and you will see almost all the tax revenue is used to pay interest. That situation has not changed. The projection that you have provided in 2022 is such that the credit rating agencies don't have confidence in them, and which means the market doesn't have confidence in those projections. Number one, you were able to raise tax revenue of only 57 billion out of over 70 billion in 2021. What makes you to think that you can move from 57 billion to 80.3 billion in 2022? They cannot connect it. Therefore, that projection is not trusted. You projected 70 plus billion in 2021 as the total revenue expected. But in 2022, and you didn't achieve that. In fact, the shortfall of the revenue was around 20%. So, by in 2022, you are projecting 100.5 billion. What tells you that you can move from that point to 100.5 billion? So the whole issue is about whether the market tracks the projection by the government or not. And as it is, it's that the market doesn't trust the project. Those are the issues that we should be dealing with.
All right.
Now, I also do know that in the past, before the coming into force of European Union regulation for credit rating agencies, in fact, the description was that credit rating agencies can remove some government out of power because of their commentary on their rating.
Okay.
So the protocol is that when you finish your rating, yours is to put the result there. You don't go beyond and start saying a lot of things. For example, even though we are not regulating as it is in Europe, when all these credit rating agencies put their document out, have you seen them moving from radio station to radio station talking? Answer is no, because there is a guidance for them. You see?
Now,
so I think that is what we should. And one of the things is that they use people in their countries which may not be familiar with the data and those things. So you could see the finance minister is using those things to attack them. But in this case, the data speaks for itself.
all right.
The data speaks for itself.
Now, let me ask my final question before we end the conversation, and that has to do with a hypothetical situation, which is based on facts anyway. What would have happened if, for instance, all these credit rating agencies had rated Ghana maybe A or B with a positive outlook, with the same figures in terms of our debt portfolio, same figures in terms of our debt to GDP ratio, and the same macroeconomic indicators we are having now, would it necessarily have done anything considering government hasn't got that, fiscal space?
Oh, definitely they will not do that. Credit rating agencies are being criticized all the time. I also criticize credit rating agencies because of what I know in their work. Sometimes they give rating, you ask yourself, why this rating? In 2019, when they were all rating government, immediately after that, government will come and run commentary to indicate to the investor that, hey, listen to the rating agencies. They have given us positive outlook to bring more money. When the table turns, now government is struggling to condemn the same credit rating agencies. Some of my criticism of credit rating agencies in the past is rooted in regulating them. It's rooted in greater transparency, especially when the rating is solicited. Because if I give you money, come and rate me, there is some likelihood that you overlook certain things. Okay, so you will be critical about the results. So we will question all the time. The work that credit rating agencies are doing is not shrouded in secrecy. We all know how to compute those ratios. We all know the benchmark. When it is beyond this level, what it is or it means for the country. So if you are rating the country in the face of this apparent data, then we can question you. So the point I'm making is that credit rating agencies are not beyond reproach. They can be criticized, they can be challenged, but the challenge should be based on data. So if you go to African Union and say, be careful about credit rating agents, and then the subsequent they issue statement. The point is that the data that they churn out is there. Churn out your data using the same methodology which is made available to you, and then tell me that when you pass through the same data through the methodological process, what you are getting is this. Then we challenge based on that.
Right.
But when you are expecting a good rating for you to go and borrow, and the ratings come to be negative, and you are going to market, issuing press statement here and there, that one, citizens will not support you.
Like and subscribe, and click on the notification. Happy FM, Nimdie, Happy FM, and Nijenkwa.